On this episode of the Infowars News Blitz, Congress had secret conversation about removing Trump. Macron wins French election, and BuzzFeed is trolled by Rigatoni Family. That and a lot more, so stay tuned. For the week of May the 8th, 2017, this is the rest of the day here, and this is an article written by Clifford Cunningham. Travis Scott report. Congress holding secret conversation about removing Trump. Critics pushing impeachment or removal under 25th Amendment. Members of Congress are holding secret conversations about removing President Donald Trump from office following a difficult first 100 days, according to a report from the New York Magazine. Nobody couples the White House with sarcasm, but Trump is besieging by doubts of a different order, centering on the overt Pacific and at times blatant discussion of whether he will be engulfed by any one of the marital problems before he has completely even one term in office, and if he is, he might be removed, wrote even Onos. Onos claims to have interviewed several dozen people about the prospects of cutting short Trump's presidency, including his friends and advisors to lawmakers and attorneys who have conducted impeachments, to physicians and historians, and to certain members of the Senate, the House, and the intelligence services. And there's a video about that. I'm going to play what Ryderson had to say in a few minutes. There is a conversation that people are having around the dinner table. It's one people have at the office. Members of Congress are talking about it in private, and the question is very simple. Is the president who is able to do the job is going to go the distance? Orioles said on MSNBC's The Last Word. Critics of Donald Trump are actively seeking to remove him from office via impeachment or declaring him mentally and physically unfit of office under the 25th Amendment. And I'm going to start right there, but here's Roger Stone about that subject.
What you've just put on the table must be addressed. I first sensed that there would be a future move to remove Trump when I was watching the cabinet selections. As you know, under the 25th Amendment, if a majority of the cabinet and the vice president decide that the president is incapacitated, cannot fulfill the duties of his office, that he is removed. Now, he can challenge that decision, but it would go to a vote of the U.S. House, controlled by Paul Ryan. Despite Paul Ryan's success in repealing Obamacare, I don't think anyone on the anti-globalist right considers him anything but a quisling, a spy in our midst. After all, he was Mitt Romney's running mate for vice president, and Mitt Romney did a superb job of offering the American people the exact same thing that Barack Obama offered them, an election of no choice. My conscience is clear. I voted for Governor Gary Johnson. This was 4 years ago. So I think cabinet members in some cases have been carefully picked because they have an establishment background. And when the signal came that Donald Trump's I would say Donald Trump's iconoclastic personal leadership style and the idiosyncrasies of his personality came to the forefront, and they weren't the homogenized bullshit that we've gotten from your typical mainstream career politicians, well, we'll just declare him crazy and try to move him on.
All right, thank you. I mean, they don't really like him. They're pulling out all the stops on this guy, and they will not stop until he's completely out of office. And you wanna know why? It's because basically they all know that he's gonna pretty much drain the swamp one way or another, and that's what they're doing. Let's pray that France does do a little bit better. However, I hate to say that was not the case, because this next article is a real big fat slap in the face. The title is called Macron Elected French President Estimates, and this is from Yahoo News. This was also linked from Infowars.com. Well, if the French wanted to have their you know what's kicked in there, well, guess what? They're about to now. Pro-European centralist Emmanuel Macron resoundingly won French's landmark president election. First estimate showed Sunday, heading off a French fierce challenge from the far right in a provocative vote for the future of the divided country and Europe. The victory caps an extraordinary rise of the 39-year-old former investor banker who will become the country's youngest ever leader. And also he was a Rothschild stooge as well, folks. His promise to heal fractured and demoralizing country after a vicious campaign that has exposed deep economic and social divisions, as well as tensions around identifying and immigration. Internal evidence shows Macron winning 65% of 61.1% of ballots, ahead of Marine Le Pen's 33.9 and 34.5%. The article goes on to say that Macron will now face huge challenges as he attempts to enact his democratic agenda of cutting state spending, which is also a lie, easing labor laws, also a lie, boosting education in depriving areas, and extending new protections of the self-employed. Well, I have one thing to say about to the French. If anybody in France listening to this or find this video out, guess what? You done screwed yourself, folks. This is what you actually wanted now, and now you're about to get it now. God gave you a chance to save your sorry little butts, and now you all are about to find out what happens when you turn your back on God. It is not going to be pretty for you or your country. God will make sure you are ruled by these people. And you know what? You wanted to commit national suicide, and go right ahead. Because technically, that's what you wanted, that's what you'll get. So here we are, folks, the final article today here, and it's an article written by Paul Joseph Watson. The title is called Exclusive. BuzzFeed Tricked into Publicizing Fake News Story. Trolls pretending to be transgender gamers plotted to fool BuzzFeed from the start. And there's an update here, too. Update. BuzzFeed didn't even retract their fake news story. They just changed the headline and hope no one notices. I think that's a little too late for that. Alright? Original story. A group of online comedians who plotted to fool BuzzFeed into posting a complete fake news story were successful after the social news and entertainment company published hoax claims that the group had been denied entry to an all-female video game tournament because they were transgender. Over the past 2 weeks, we set up a plot to see if we could trick BuzzFeed into posting something that was fake, and it worked, folks. For the laughs, Cheryl Begley Rigolo told Infowars. And it worked. BuzzFeed fell right into a trap. There was only a female tournament hosted by a company known as ESL, Electronic Sporting League, for a game called Counter-Strike Global Offensive. And for those who don't know what that is, then you've been living on a rock too long. We decided to pose as transgenders pro team. We made it as ridiculous as possible by uploading obvious trolling pics to our profiles on the tournament's website. Pics of us wearing wigs, etc. We knew we were going to get declined joining the tournament. So once we did get turned down, then I sent an email to BuzzFeed journalists by the name of Lane Salito trying to bait them into making a story out of it, adds Origlio. And I'm not going to read anything else, but here's Paul Joseph Watson about this.
So he had a bunch of conservative trolls, basically. It's an online comedy group, pretending to be transgender women, so born male pretending to be female, transgender. They approached a video game tournament and tried to enter as transgender. The tournament was women only. Now, they planned this from the very beginning, weeks in advance, specifically to try to troll BuzzFeed and bait them, fool them, trick them into writing a story based on fake news. They're not transgender, they're a conservative troll group, and from the very outset they did it purely to troll BuzzFeed. And BuzzFeed took the bait. Again, proving that they have a bias because the bait tied in directly to their social justice, gender hysteria narrative. They failed to do basic fact-checking. This comedy group gave them the name of their own troll group. They could have done one single Google search and found out that this group had a goofy website, had a YouTube channel in which they make fun out of Hillary Clinton voters and make comedic videos. It was an obvious troll. It was an obvious conservative group baiting BuzzFeed. They failed to do basic due diligence. Again, these are the same people who will point fingers at us all day and call us fake news. Say that we should be censored. Say that there should be consequences for us, that we should be put on a blacklist. When they get caught doing the exact same thing, what happens? Nothing. They put out the Trump P-Gate dossier months and months ago, completely debunked, completely fraudulent, completely fabricated, the details anyway. Again, no consequences whatsoever.
Okay, thank you, Watson. But there you go, folks. I mean, they tricked it, and they didn't even try to retract it, as Paul just said. They're a bunch of idiots. They didn't even try to say, oops, sorry, we better pull this off right now. Because it actually fit their narrative. I mean, they didn't even try to pull the whole thing off. Not one bit. And they're all wondering why everybody actually hates them.